God bless you, saints. This is Sean here from Faith Brings Change. I just want to come on here and I want to share with you something very important. This is a major fulfillment of Bible prophecy, both what's written in the Bible and what I wrote about in the Book of Harvest. If you guys aren't aware, I wrote a Book of Harvest a while back, and I prophesied out of it. Some of it was really good. Some of it I was too rushed, and I need to go back and finish that book, but the image of the beast, guys, from the book of Revelation, if you guys are familiar with that, there's two great beasts, and the second one that comes, it's in the king, and he's inhabited by this demon, and he makes an image to this man's the first beast. He causes those who don't worship the first beast or to take his image or his mark to be put to death. Well, I wrote in the book of Harvest of this thing, and I called it the giant. I called it like the giant of Goliath, and I was prophesied this giant, great big abomination, the dead statue that doesn't move, and I was prophesying how it's like the body of Satan, There's no real movement in it because it's not going anywhere but to hell, and I was prophesying against it and calling it the giant, like Goliath, and saying God's going to slay it with these 3 stones in Revelation 9. Keep that in mind, that name giant. Now, a few months ago, I also had a dream that the 2 witnesses, it says who the 2 witnesses are. I don't want to get into this long. It says they're 2 candlesticks. If you read the beginning of Revelation, it tells you what a candlestick is. It said there were 7 candlesticks, and the 7 golden candlesticks are the 7 churches. There were 2 of them that had favor with God, Smyrna and Philadelphia. Those are the 2 witnesses. And God confirmed this to me, and it's written plain in His Word. You just got to go and read it. If you want to know what the 2 witnesses are, it says they're the 2 candlesticks. If it tells you a candlestick is a church, and there's 2 of them, what can you conclude? They're 2 churches. And if you see only 2 of them walking right, then what can you conclude? Those are the 2 that He chose. It's not rocket science. But anyways, in the dream, I was traveling with my friend Charlie that I used to hang out with, and names are really biblical. You got to pay attention to the names in dreams, guys. And we were driving down a dark street, and I'm gonna show you the fulfillment of this thing that I was speaking of. This image of the beast that was fulfilled. Remember that name giant I said. Traveling down a dark road with this guy Charlie, and it means free man, and it's like he in the dream, when Yeshua comes, he takes his body because he's a free man, and me representing the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit is in me, and he's in you, when you're abiding in Him and stuff. And so it's that, most of the time it's like Him and Yeshua, and me and Him we were cross wiring some kind of hairs of or some wires of people's Christmas lights, and I thought that was weird because me and this guy Charlie used to get in a lot of trouble, but this is a different kind of thing. This was like, I thought, oh, here we go again. I don't want to do one of these, go on these rides with Charlie, ride the Charlie train, so to speak, and I used to call him even Chainsaw Charlie as a joke, but I'm kind of using that as prophecy that we cut off people's calls when we were doing vandalism and other stuff, but this time it was Yeshua. It was represented making trouble for the beast, and it was during the time of Christmas. We were rigged up some kind of lights. Basically, it represented paganism, so it would backfire the people that are doing that. And I don't have time to go into that, guys. I might after this, but anyways, we drove down a dark street. I can't remember what happened, but at a certain point, the scene changed, and some woman tried to steal a dog, and I tried to take that dog from... I said, this is my dog, and she tried to steal it, and then they cast me into prison, and I was taken out, and I heard this Jason Statham, because if I ever did an Antichrist movie, I just had the whole shaved head, kind of like me, and black trench coat, he'd make a good, I'm trying to see if I can find it, if it's here. It's probably put up. Well, I had a figure that looked realistic of him, and as a prototype for that trench coat. And this is how the image of the beast. I saw this thing before this image came out that they just made. And he said, every once in a while, it was like a trailer, he was saying, you have some dogs come back to bite you. And he was referring to me and the two witnesses. And I told y'all, some of y'all, and I know if y'all don't want to pay attention to this, y'all don't have to, but, you know, Yeshua cast me in the belly of the well twice. He actually told me January 28th, that was his prophet Elijah. He told me to my face. And I asked him, he told me. Because he'd already spoken to me when I was awake. But he said, do you want to know if you're with Father? And that popped in my head out of dead sleep. And I said, yes, if that's what you're asking me, if I want to know I'm your Elijah, yes. Because it's a lot is riding on me. And hours went by, and he was taking me through this dream of this thunderstorm. I'm going to get back to this other dream. And just showing me how the rain of the flood of the flesh in the last days, and how it was causing me fear. And he said, stay totally still, like you're in the eye of the storm. And I did. And though it was beating on my flesh, causing me a headache, my spirit, that inside of me, that soft part of our inside, our spirit wasn't affected. And that's how we survive it. And I said, just tell me, am I this messenger? Am I this messenger, Malachi, like I heard you say, you know, after, you know, in spirit, and you're giving me all these dreams and stuff, and talking to me like this? I said, just tell me. And he said, pointed to me, like, he said, you're Elijah, you know. And he just ghosted off. He walked off real fast, like almost a spirit moves. And he said it almost like a hush, almost like it was quiet in the rain. And I woke up and I heard Elijah was waiting for God to tell him on the mountain, you know, 3 times, and God appeared in the whisper, the still small voice. That's how he said, you know, Elijah. He was like, you're Elijah. You know, he just whispered like that, and he ghosted off, you know. And the whole point about it, because that whisper 3 times was like for the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. And the whisper is, you gotta, to survive this fear of the flesh, you gotta walk in the Spirit. You gotta be peaceful like a dove. And I was cast in the belly of the well of Jonah. I found out Jonah actually means a dove. And so anyways, back to this dream of this guy you've seen. Every once in a while, you know, a dog comes back to bite you. And it was Jason Statham. You know how he does, like his own you know, transporter, that kind of sophisticated voice. He was saying that. And then they're saying, we got to call something like this. And I was hearing this beast. I saw this image pop up. And this was crazy, guys. Have you ever seen Resident Evil Regeneration or Resident Evil Damnation? It's 2 CGI versions of the what do you call it? The video game. And it looks animated. But it's like this thing is speaking and looking at me. And I heard, and almost also like the trailer, like, you know, how they have an orchestra sing it, you know, when he said after every once in a while, dog comes back to bite you. All this is like a trailer. And I heard, sinner, sinner. And then it got into the Resident Evil theme, you know. It was like, I'm trying to think of how it goes. You know, like the movie, you know, was playing that. And this guy was looking, and he was saying, it was almost like this image was talking back, or he was being programmed, and he turned his head and he looked at me. And he was saying about basically to have us put to death. I knew that's what it was related to. I can't remember exactly what he said. But I don't know how to describe it. Like, you see the shape of me? It's like the shape of me, but lines were across his face. And it was a programmable image, almost like hologram or something. And this thing was turning its head, but it looked animated. And I was like, what is this? Is this, that's the image of the beast? Nah, the image of the beast can't look like that. And I saw a blue suit it had and a red tie. I was trying to figure out, who is that it looks like? Looks like I've seen this before. And I woke up, well, I saw this thing called the Giant. I called it the Giant in the Book of Harvest in 2020 and 2021. I saw what it looked like. And they came out with this giant it's called the Giant. It looks exactly like that. When it appeared as a man, it looked like, you've seen those black boxes of digital things where they just appear and the image appeared? Well, that's how it appeared, and that's exactly how it's programmed to work. And now watch, let me see if I can turn this. I don't know if I can turn this so you guys can see it, but I'm going to try my best. Well, I can't. Hold on. Well, I know what I can do. Hold on. Stay with me, guys. I gotta put in this long password because on my computer, but I'm gonna show you this trailer. I'm gonna have to turn it the best I can. Hold on. Almost done. Okay. I can't see because I can't turn it back around, so I'm just going to have to flip the camera and I won't be able to see, but I'm going to put it on for you. I'll show you. I'll try to pause it when I can and talk to you guys about this. See if I can get it a little bigger for you guys. If it'll let me. See those lines right there, guys? That's sort of how, when it pops up, I'll show you. I'll pause it for a second for you guys. I'll see if this is the one. If it's not, then I'll have to play another trailer for you. But that is a giant statue, but they're different trailers of it. This is the prototype, guys. This is what he's going to use. This is the same technology. This is eerie, but yeah, it can move just like that when it was ordering the killing. But I'll show you what image it popped up. They're gonna use. They can put any image on it they want. Any image of a person's body they scan. They're going to scan the first beast. The second beast is to have this thing appear as it. There you go. See the way it glitched like that? See the way it glitched? It glitched like that. Like you're going to see Spider-Man in a second. There you go. It had those lines just like that. It glitched just like that. But it turned into... I'll show you who it turned into. This is very telling. Just wait. I had this dream a few months before this. It was in December that he ordered us to be killed after the 3.5 years of the tribulation, the 3.5 years mark after we had preached. I'd preached in sackcloth. There you go. He did that. He did that, and he turned and he looked straight at me, and it was like order, and I think it was the angel taking the form of this thing. Except the only thing is I remember like a red tie. I was wondering, who was that? Well, that's JFK. And why JFK? Because, you know, ordering us to be killed, and he was killed, and so sometimes the angels give me forms to show me that it was like that. It almost looked like some other things, different things. It looked like he was changing into different images, but he can change into different images. So that's what's crazy about it. That's the same person. Or that's the image of the beast, guys. This is fulfilled. I named it the giant. Did Satan take my whole giant Goliath thing that I was calling a statue? The image, did he take that, and did he see that in the book of Harvest, and he resented it, and he had them call that? I don't know, but God certainly did show me that image. And so now I know when I was cast in the belly of the well of Jonah, and I talked about October 27th being the time of the outer darkness of Revelation 9, it did not happen, but I got Jonah's sign. Remember, Jonah preached, and Nineveh was spared. And you can read in the book of Malachi, he said, I'll send my servant, the prophet Elijah, to you, and he'll preach so I don't smite the earth with a curse. And so God didn't want to. At that time, he wanted to give us more time, but he didn't tell me that, just like Jonah. I got the same call as Jonah. And there were certain things that he was telling me in the dream that made me believe he was going to do it. And I knew it wasn't just my imagination. He told me, I said, is it going to really happen on the 27th? Because he told me to preach from the 6th to the 27th of October. And is it going to really happen? And I know the 27th of October was 22 days of prophecy and 27. And I was thinking like a 227 or something. And I said, because he told me to look up my name of 227. Or he told me to look up my name, and I did. Sean Matthew Beavers, and that up to 227. And in the dream, he said a quart of wheat will be brought in. 11th of a quart will be brought in on the 27th. And then I asked Suri what 11th of a quart was. And she said 0.00227, something like that exactly. And he was giving me all kinds of signs. I mean, I don't have time to go into all those things, guys. He did a lot of things to visit me. But I preached from the 6th of October to the 22nd day of my prophecy on the 27th. And the reason why I think it's going to be 6/22 of some year, will it be 2027? I don't know. But the reason why I think it's going to be 6/22 of some year is because it says the 2 witnesses are murdered at a time when people are sending gifts to each other. Around the world, and I don't see any other time than Christmas. And if you back up 1,000, when I was told in the dream on September 27th, I saw the star come down that crashed into Revelation 9, and it brought darkness, the star that crashed, and smoke of the earth's core came up, darkened the sun. I heard in June, everything changes. I was in 1408 hotel room in the dream. And I was looking at these calendar things, and I was asking, well, June, what? I was already thinking maybe 2027 because of he was giving me this number 27, and then when I was on the calendar, it looked like some numbers when I woke up just flipped the calendar the number 22. And so I'm looking at my date before me, 6/22/27. This was after I woke up, and so I was like, let me look up when that 1408 movie was, when it was released, because I'm told June everything will change. Here I am, the numbers pop up to June 22 by themselves, like a hen moved them up. On my phone, if you have a calendar phone, it can switch the days, And I looked that movie up, and sure enough, it was June 22, 2007. So was that a sign for 2027? I don't know for sure, but I know those in June, everything changes. And I know now, whatever time the tribulation will be, it's 1,260 days from June. That's when the 2 witnesses preach. They have 1,260 days they'll be killed. That always brings you up to December, the time when people were sending gifts to each other. And that's perfect for when people were being killed. And the June is also perfect for December, because I can tell you about that Christmas thing now that this woman, this harlot, had a son named Tammuz, and she was Nimrod's wife. She was the woman that helped build up Babylon. And Tammuz was born on December 25th. And he loved, think of Easter. Another name for her is Ishtar. She loved rabbits. Or he loved rabbits. And she said she came from a moon egg. That's where you get Easter eggs from. And he was killed later on when, guess what? His blood, that's the red, fell on the stump of an evergreen, cut down evergreen, green. That's the green for Christmas. That's where we cut down evergreens. And cutting down evergreen, it was a sacrifice to Satan. What it represents is you and I are like an evergreen of the Lord, and it talks about that in the Bible. But Satan cuts that down and decorates it to show that's a dead body. That's like into Jezebel also, that city, that great harlot city also of Babylon. She's also called Jezebel spiritually. And decked up with silver and gold, that Christmas tree represents that dead body of Satan. In other words, it's decked up with all the artificial ornaments on the outside, beautiful. But it has no root. It's not rooted in anything. It's cut down. And so that whole red and green thing comes from Tammuz. And he was born December 25th. And she said she was a woman in the book of Genesis who had the son that was going to crush the serpent underfoot. And so she was basically saying this guy was the son of God. And he's worshipped. He's supposed to be Nimrod reborn. She had her husband murdered after she slept with another man, had Tammuz. Nimrod didn't like it. He was going to expose her. She had him killed, and then she had the nerve to say that Nimrod, that her son Tammuz was Nimrod reborn, and he was a sun god reborn. So June, they also call, what do you call it? I'm trying to think of the name. Tammuz in Hebrew. That's the name of the month. Well, Tammuz was born December 25th. The end of the tribulation, or the end of the first part of the tribulation, 3.5 years brings you to December, when they're killed, the two witnesses. The first part of it is June, and so the sun being darkened, after he told me he's going to be darkened in the month of June, I found out June is the month of the sun god Bel that was named Tammuz, who was born December 25th. It said they'll grieve as if for an only son. And so it's like they're grieving for the sun, and the sun is put out, and he's talked about the sign of the Son of Man coming from heaven. Remember, he said the sign. He didn't say the Son of Man. Then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. Well, Yeshua was breaking this down to me gradually, but he showed me that sign of the Son of Man is Revelation 9, that burning star, just like the Son of God coming down to judge and burn up the world. They're going to see the sign of this thing. That's the sign of the Son of Man and the sign of Jonah, because it's going to come down, hit the earth is breaking open, smoke of the earth coming up, and just like it was in the days of Egypt, the children of Israel had light in their dwellings, but Egypt did not. He told me the people that were not found in him at that time, walking rightly in him, in the church and outside, would be in the outer darkness 3 days when that darkness comes up. He said he won't suffer the darkness to come into people's houses. Those locusts that come out of the pit are not allowed to kill them, but they can only torment them for 5 months. It's like a scorpion that strikes a man. And it's weird that he told me he would darken the sun in a month is based off of the name of the sun god. And it's all related to this. They'll mourn as for an only son, as for they think Tammuz is Christ, but it's not Christ. But they'll mourn as if for a son. It'll still make them think God will use that. And then being in that 3 days of darkness is like Yeshua when he was in 3 days in the heart of the earth. And also, it was 3 hours dark on the cross. And he told me, look, this is when I'm going to do it. He said, look at that. He told me 12 noon, I'll darken the sun. And I'll read that in the book of Exodus. It says in the book of Amos, I'll darken the earth as in the days of Egypt. At noon, I'll cause the sun to go down. Well, the sun's not literally going down, but it's that darkness coming up, But it'll be as if the sun is going down. But the sun doesn't go down anyways, the way we rotate and stuff. But anyways, it's what happens, the effect. But so Yeshua, it was dark from the 6th hour to the 9th hour. And so the 6th hour is 12 o'clock. He said the first day of darkness will start, and you have to count 3 days after. It may seem like 4, but let's just say it happens on June 22. I'm just giving you an example. 23, 24, 25. That number 25 is very interesting because it alludes to December 25th also. And the Tammuz time. But darkened it. And it'll start from the 12th hour. Yeshua said according to the time it was dark on the cross from the 6th hour to the 9th hour. So, I'm sorry, the 6th hour to the 9th hour. So the 6th hour is 12 o'clock noon somewhere in the world. That star will come down and it'll bring darkness, whatever time is in your times. And then the third day, after that, the darkness will end at the 9th hour, 3 o'clock. So if it happened on the 22nd of June, let's just say of some year, then the darkness would happen from 12 noon, according to it was dark on the cross at that time. And the third day, it'll be dark until the darkness will be removed at 3 o'clock in the day. So that's when the darkness ended. And he told me that sign was going to be according to that. And I was preaching on the 22nd day of 10. He was telling me to perform that sign, lift up a rod and bring darkness. But it was a whole Jonah thing. I expected to do that. But right before that, he didn't give me the green light to actually lift up a rod, to be honest. He gave me it at first, but through the 22 days, I started to get anger issues and things. And then he started to tell me, you're not ready. You're not ready for this now. And he's just, kind of smiling, being nice. And he's telling me it's still going to come, but you're not ready now. And I was thinking, what does that mean? I'm not ready. So, he didn't allow me to do the sign yet. And he told me I wasn't ready, but partly he could have speeded me up. Maybe he could have taken me to heaven. He could do whatever he would to get me ready and get me. But he allowed me not to be ready because he wanted me to get more books, have more time. He wanted to give you guys more time. There was also a sign of 7 cows. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Big sign in 2012. But I looked because 10:22 told me raise up a rod, cause darkness. It was my 22nd day on the 10th month of October. I looked up 10:22 and guess what I got? It said Moses raised it up his rod and caused outer darkness. And Egypt was dark for 3 days. And so I was shocked when I saw that. There's 2:27 in the Bible, Revelation, different things. It says, he who overcomes will have a rod of iron. He was telling me I was getting a rod of iron like that man-child in the scripture. There's also that man-child that's going up. The people that are ready are going up in him. They're like the body of that man-child. He told me he's making me the head of this Elijah. And you guys don't have to believe this if you can, but this doesn't just apply to me. This applies to you too. You can speak the same thing that I'm speaking. Just as because we're the body of Christ. Just as Yeshua was the Word of God in the flesh, he told me, in this place, I'm the Spirit of Christ in the flesh. The Spirit of Christ. There was Christ, the Word Christ, the Spirit. And that's not concerning me only. It's concerning the body that are ready on that day. They'll be part of the body. He could have made anybody the head, but he said,